it's so easy for someone who has no idea what they're talking about to get a platform now.
Oh yeah.
And just
Like
spout
us.
nonsense.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Tacenda podcast. Tacenda means things better left unsaid. Great way to start that episode. Next to me is Daniel.
Oh, this is going to be a fun
and
episode.
And I'm, of course, Richie. This is our first episode with video, so it's impressive. We've gotten this far.
Yeah.
Our Bible verse for today is Revelations 2:7. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcomes, I will give to eat from the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. I thought that was a good quote from the Bible. I've been going through Revelations recently, so it's my devotions.
It's a good one.
Alrighty, we are ready to jump right into it. Am I the jerk for leaving my in-laws' Christmas dinner after I found out they didn't make accommodations for me? I got invited to my fiance's family Christmas celebratory dinner. It's my first Christmas with them. I have always been picky about what I eat. Can't help it, and it has to do with psychological factors, childhood, and personal likes and dislikes. Before accepting their invite, I let my future mother-in-law know that I wouldn't be eating the traditional food at their celebration, and showed her a variety of dishes to choose from to accommodate me. She refused and told me to bring my own dish. Gosh. I said if I had to bring my own dish when I'm a guest, then I better stay at home then. Wow, so many thens. We went back and forth, and I insisted I wouldn't come if accommodations weren't being made. I just thought it was a simple request, and future mother-in-law could have agreed if she really wanted me there. Interesting way to phrase that. My fiance agreed that I should bring my own dish, but I didn't. When we arrived there, I saw that no accommodations were made. I got up, got my things, and walked out and went home. Oh my goodness. My future mother-in-law and fiance were shocked. I get tons of calls and texts from them both, my goodness. And my fiance came home lashing out, calling me selfish and spoiled to walk out like that over a dish that his mom didn't have to make for me, and that it was my responsibility to feed me. My goodness.
Wait,
How is it my responsibility to feed myself when I'm a guest? Makes no sense to me. I told him this, and he accused me of starting crap and ruining my first Christmas with his family and disrespecting his mom. Now he's continually saying, I can't read this next sentence. Essentially, they hate each other now. AITA, to clear a few points. For those saying I have no respect for my in-laws, I do, especially for my mother-in-law. I respect her, but this is far the biggest conflict we had. I work long hours, even on holidays, so not much time to cook. I wasn't asking for an elaborate dish or several dishes, just one simple option. That's the end of it.
so, wow, I thought it was the dude initially that was being the jerk, but it's actually the woman. You know, you don't really see that very
Well, see, there's two sides to it. Because she says she's not very picky, but she has psychological factors, childhood, and personal likes and dislikes. That sounds like you're picky.
Yeah, that's basically like a fancy way to say you're picky.
You didn't mention any health issues, so it doesn't sound like there's a health issue restraining you from eating. It's just like you don't like it. Psychological factors, what is that supposed to mean? Oh, I can't eat mashed potatoes because it reminds me of childhood, and my childhood wasn't good. Like, what?
Now, if you were to say, like, you get whipped while being, like, forced to eat mashed potatoes, that would make sense, but they didn't say that. So, like,
what scenario?
Like, imagine you're at Thanksgiving dinner, and you're like, yuck, these mashed potatoes. And so the old grandpappy grabs the belt, and while the grandmama is, like, shoving them in your mouth, the grandpappy's whipping your behind. I mean, that would be pretty traumatic if you ask me. That would make me not want to eat mashed potatoes.
True. That is, but she
doesn't say that, so, like...
She makes a good point, and I've heard about this before. And she says, quote, "How is it my responsibility to feed myself when I'm a guest?" Unquote. And she says she asked for just one simple dish, implying that...
I was waiting for her to give examples, though.
Yeah.
What is a simple dish?
Yeah,
like,
true.
Is she asking for, like, mashed sweet potatoes with, I don't know, some, like, pecans or marshmallows, whatever people put on there on top? Or is she asking for, like, a specific type of meat?
Yeah.
Like a meat, because meat dishes are a lot harder to cook and get right, especially because people usually cook their meat, like, first, and it's, like, the whole meal is centered around that.
Well, it's hard to believe that they don't have one simple dish. Like, it's hard to believe that there's not mac and cheese or potatoes or,
where's
potatoes are
this family from?
traumatic. What?
Where's this family from? Because, I mean, if they're from the East...
This is posted by Rama 5000, so I don't know who that is.
But yeah, I mean, they have no dishes
Yeah.
that she can eat?
So I would
Nothing?
say, I mean, it is the duty of the host to... Like, the host is the last person... The last person as a host, you should be the last person you think of as as a host.
Yes.
You should be the last person you're thinking of. Your guests should always be important, and you should always make sure your guests are accommodated. But if your guests are being rude and picky, then I think it's like it's gone too far, and I'd say that she's the jerk in this situation.
I would say, like, as a host, if I make a bunch of food for someone and then someone comes on and is like, "Hey, I don't like that, make me something else."
That's a good
I'm
point.
gonna be like, nah. Like, if my mom, like, this growing up, my mom, like, she'd make us food and we'd be like, "You don't want this."
Yeah.
She's like, "You're eating it. I made it for you. You're going to eat this food." So it's like,
It's a good mother.
now if I'm like, "Hey, I have a peanut allergy. Can I eat something other
that's
than peanut
completely
brittle?"
different.
That's completely different, but that's not what this is.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, I mean, like, even if there was nothing that you could eat there, you can always eat afterwards, or you can eat before, or you could just not eat for 12 hours. It's not that big of a deal. I mean,
Also,
with obesity in America, people can cut down on the food. Go ahead, Daniel.
like, like, if you're coming to a party, which you said you can eat before or after. Plus, if you have, like, pockets, you can totally just, like, bring a snack to the bathroom, eat it. You'd be totally fine, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
There was another point I was going to say, but I forgot it.
I know I've been to people's houses multiple times, and they've cooked a dish that I didn't like specifically. It had some ingredients that I've just never particularly liked, and I know that I've always eaten it anyway.
Yeah.
Because as a guest, I think it's incredibly rude to ask somebody, especially if they've spent time making this food for you.
Yeah.
It's incredibly rude to ask them to make something else.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's different because she asked beforehand, like, if you could make this dish.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't just show up and was like, "Oh, I can't eat any of this." But I still think there's no way. What was it, Thanksgiving or Christmas?
It's Christmas.
There's nothing that she can eat?
Yeah.
Nothing?
And this sounds like a pretty big
traditional-
family event.
Yeah.
Are these, like, traditional Christmas meals? Because if so,
I don't know. There's not very many details.
She's a jerk for not putting details in. My
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, that alone makes her a jerk. No details.
Also, she continues, like, I'm trying to read this as best as I can, and she continuously refers to her mother-in-law as FMIL, so I'm trying to figure out, I'm pretty sure that means future mother-in-law, because
Or
it's
effing
fiance.
mother.
Yeah, I hope that's not what it means.
Does she say husband?
Fiance.
Okay, yeah, so future mother-in-law.
I mean, if it's also, this lady, I mean, she's a lady. She should be pretty good in the kitchen. She should be able to make her own. Because
Got
I
him.
don't know if you'll have to, say explicit over the entire
This may be a liberal.
I bet she's
Woman.
vegan.
That's
Bro.
psychological.
Vegans are weird. Like, a vegetarian, I at least have a little respect for them because they eat eggs. Like, they can eat eggs. I'm like, all right. But a vegan, I'm like, bro, no.
AITA for not inviting them to my Christmas party after they didn't invite me to their wedding.
AITJ.
Sorry,
to
yes.
clarify.
AITJ, yes. Oh, okay. I throw a pretty big Christmas party every year going on a decade now. A few years ago, at one I threw, my friend Tara met my former coworker, Tony, and they hit it off.
Mm.
They dated for a while, and 2 years later, once again at my Christmas party, she showed up with a ring on her finger, and they announced for the first time that they were engaged.
No way.
I was super
Wow.
happy for them. They got married this spring. We didn't get invited. Ooh,
We who?
yeah, good question. When I was sending around my party invitations this year, I didn't see any reason to invite them back if they didn't think I wasn't worthy of making their guest list. I have known them both for years, basically introduced them, and they literally announced their engagement at my home. It got back to me today that they are very upset with us for not inviting them this year, that my party is something they considered special, and they think I'm being petty. A couple friends mentioned it was a smaller wedding, and they feel like I'm just pushing them. It wasn't, though. There were probably 200 people there,
Dang.
and I know at least 50 of them, and I was a little surprised at some of the names that made the cut over us. I didn't make a stink about it or anything, but I don't see why I should welcome them into my home again after being snubbed like that. My partner thinks I should just let it go and invite them back, but I don't see a reason why I should. AITJ. Now, before we say anything about the actual argument, please drop in a comma. There's not a single comma in this thing.
They're an automatic jerk.
Yeah, they're an automatic
jerk.
Also, 200 people is not a small wedding, and if you know 50 of them, why are you complaining about this one friend? You have plenty of other friends to replace them with. I'm kidding. That's a joke. All right, what's your guys?
He's got a point.
What are your guys' opinion?
He's definitely not the jerk in this scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, you introduce them. Forget everything else. They were both your friend, and you introduced them.
Yeah.
How are you not at their wedding? That is like, now I don't know if this guy is just like, he could be over exaggerating.
Yeah, I think it's a girl.
Or yeah, either way, they could be over exaggerating, and maybe they didn't really introduce them. Maybe they're not as good friends with them as they thought they were. But if we're taking it at face value, then you introduce them. They announce their engagement at your party after the 2 years, and then they don't invite you to their wedding.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, I can completely understand not wanting to invite them back.
But does this person have an obligation to invite them as a friend? Like, we don't know how close they are, but it sounds like they're pretty close. Well, at least
They were.
at least from this friend to them, it sounds like they were pretty close. But maybe the couple that got married isn't as close as they think. I don't know. That statement was very confusing with so many pronouns in it. But yes, Daniel.
I would say, like, Raiden's point, good point. Also, he's talking about being a friend. Like, if I didn't get invited to your wedding after introducing you to your hot Russian girlfriend or whatever, I would be pretty hurt. But it's also, like, depending on the friendship, like, if it's you, I'm going to invite you to my party. Maybe not invite your girlfriend or your wife at the point, but, like, I would invite you. But if it is just kind of like a nobody, yeah. I mean, there's also being, like, the better man or woman, if she's a girl, or if he's a man. But there's also, like, being the better one and not taking an eye for an eye.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's understandable, but you could also just be better than them.
Yeah.
Because if you go down to their level, you're kind of the same.
Yeah.
His sips his tea. You could just be better than them.
I mean, you could.
An eye for an eye makes the whole world die.
Yeah.
AITJ for giving my girlfriend's cat away. My girlfriend and I have been together since we were 13. We're 20 now.
Dang.
Okay, so that's a good 8 years.
Yeah,
Or
bro.
7 years. And she has had her cat for the duration of the relationship. I'm gonna go ahead and say this now. I don't care for cats, and I'm allergic to them.
Ooh.
And hers was no exception. I'm not really an animal person in general, but if I were to get one, it would not be a cat. They're disgusting and they creep me out. Okay. My girlfriend and I moved in together at 18. This is already a bad situation.
Dang.
I was always under the impression that she would leave her cat at her parents' since she knew how much I didn't like it. A long story short, the cat came with her. While I wasn't thrilled about it, I allowed it to stay under the conditions that it wouldn't sleep in our bed, and that it would stay off the furniture, and that it would not go into my office space.
It's kind of hard to do with a cat.
Yeah.
Over the course of the last 2 years, I would come home from work to find my girlfriend chilling on the couch with the cat that I had asked her not, specifically doing what I had asked her not to do. I'd get ready to climb into bed, and there'd be the cat on my half of the sheets. And I know that she is the one who let it into the bedroom. Not to mention that
It was her.
She constantly talks to it and cooing at it like it's a person, and it drives me up
What
the
a
wall.
loser.
For a while, I just slept in my office.
Oh my goodness.
And so that I wouldn't have to deal with the itchy face and puffy eyeballs. So we have to remember that he is allergic.
Yeah, that's a...
With us having been stuck at home now, so this is during the pandemic, it was even harder for me to have my own space. The straw that broke the camel's back was when I went into my office and I found the cat sitting at the window.
No.
I've asked time and time again for her cat to stay out of my space, and I feel like she is deliberately disrespecting my wishes. So I found a walk-in surrender shelter today, and I dropped off the cat. I haven't told my girlfriend, and being that it's an indoor-outdoor cat, I hope that she just thinks it ran away. I love my girlfriend, but the cat was our legitimately only source of conflict.
Watch them get married and you tell them when they're 40.
Bro.
So, okay,
Oh my God.
I'm going to give my opinion on this. He is a jerk for one reason. You're not married, it's her cat. You let her into your house. You assumed that she wouldn't bring her cat, but you didn't specify that. So you are the jerk for doing that. If you were married, if you had specified not to bring the cat, then she would have been the jerk 100%. But you did not specify, or you're not married. There's no, bonding agent between you two. So that's why you're the jerk. It's not your cat. You're not married. So you're the jerk.
Yeah,
True.
I would agree with that. But I'd also, instead of getting rid of the cat, I mean, you shouldn't be living with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Just give away the girlfriend. Like, take her to this...
Drop her off.
Drop
Take her
her
to
off
like
at
a
the
bar
shelter.
with a bunch of like dudes and just drop her off.
Tangled.
She's like, you're free. Go. Go away.
Get out of
Go,
here.
get out of here.
Also, with a cat, it's kind of hard. I mean, keeping it out of an office is pretty easy. You just close the door. But furniture, beds, stuff like that, it's kind of hard to keep a cat.
Well,
being on
but
there.
see, the thing is, the bedroom, right, like that would have a door.
Yeah.
That'd
and
have a door.
That's why he said in there, he deliberately knows that he let it in,
Mhm.
because he always shuts the door.
Well,
Also, his office space, right? Like, he would have always shut the door,
Yeah.
which means she would have had to have deliberately do that, unless he
she
left
could
the
have
door
been.
open.
Yeah, she could have been real clumsy and just went and grabbed something and left the
Could
door
be
open.
kind of a,
She
logo.
sounds pretty clumsy.
But then it also goes back to, like, he gets home, and she's chilling on the couch
Yeah.
with the cat.
Why aren't you doing the dishes?
Yeah, why aren't you calling my alarm?
Why aren't you?
Make me a sandwich, woman.
Sorry, these are very sexist jokes,
They
but
have to edit that out. So I don't want to make it big.
it's alright. They are jokes. That's what makes them
They
false.
are jokes.
Jokes are just a little bit of truth exaggerated to the point where they're lies. That's every
A bit
joke.
of truth, exaggerated. Yeah.
AITJ. I just got married last week. My wife and I are both in our 30s. I'm Mexican and she's American. But we both grew up in the US and both of our families know both languages. I'll come back to that later. My wife planned every bit of our wedding and was a very controlling and nervous bride. But alright, I get it, she was stressed. During the reception, I went to the band and asked them to play a song for me and sing it to my new wife. It was Te Amer by Miguel Bosé. I'm not sure. I probably butchered that name. Thank you, Daniel. It was the song from our first date, and it was a really bad Mexican restaurant, so it became a long-standing joke between us. The guests really loved the song, and my mother-in-law cried and told me it was beautiful, but my bride seemed upset. I asked her what was wrong, and she said that I was a jerk for taking the spotlight to enforce my ethnicity and not just let the band sing our song for us.
Is that it?
Yeah.
She's a jerk. She's a jerk.
Absolutely.
100%.
When I first read that, I thought to myself, are you kidding me? Are you serious?
I mean, Did he even tell her? No, I don't. It's not about my ethnicity. Like, if he was like, I'm going to play the Mexican national anthem.
Yeah.
Just because I'm Mexican. It's like, yeah, maybe, but also, like, he's a proud countryman, so...
Yeah.
Whatever.
His mother-in-law cried. She
that
loved it.
sounds like a great moment.
I couldn't...
Stole the spotlight.
Typical American woman to complain or to worry about their wedding.
That's also...
It's a woman, period, bro.
I have to find a woman that doesn't care as much about the wedding and more about the honeymoon.
I just gotta find a woman that doesn't care.
This was on the last
doesn't care.
Doesn't even care about me. Just will stay there, The only thing she cares about, working in the kitchen, laundry.
That's all she cares about.
AITJ for saying no when someone asked for a bite of my food. I ordered lunch from a charcuterie place next to my job that I had been craving. It cost $45, but I had a good week, and my plan was to eat it throughout the day, and once I was done, share it with everyone. Sat down to eat my lunch, and a coworker came up and asked me if she could have a piece. I said no, because I just started to eat, and I was hungry, and I honestly just didn't want to share my food at this time. She asked why, and I said, because this is my food, and it was $45, and I didn't want to share it. And then she says, are you seriously going to eat the whole thing? And my response is, yeah, probably, throughout the whole day. After this, she comes back in later and says, I hope you're not feeling a certain way about me. I said, yeah, I thought what you did was rude because I was just trying to eat my lunch. She then goes on to explain to me how I was the one that was rude and should have said no nicer, and that she was really hungry and her food wasn't here yet. I should have been nicer. I told her I was done with the conversation and went to sit in the hallway, and then I hear her call me to another coworker. So am I the jerk here? I literally just wanted to eat my food on my time, not share it. But if I am the jerk, I want to know. Small update. She actually reached out and apologized today. I cannot thank you all enough for your support and advice. My assumption is that she told her spouse, thus family, about it, and they're like, bruh, you fricked up. In the future, I'll eat my shark coochie board in private. You guys are the best.
You random internet people are the best.
I
love that.
She didn't say charcuterie, but it says shark coochie.
So,
I was like, bro, you mean shark? Respect.
So, the reason I chose this one is because, every sister or mom always tries to eat your food. Mm-hmm. You order your food, you offer to order her food, or she has the chance to order food.
That's even worse.
Yeah. They say no.
Are you hungry?
They want to bite.
You order a decent, not a big amount of food, but a decent enough food. Just enough food to get by. You eat it, they're like, oh, what's that? Can I have some? Like, no, this is my food. I offered you. But they don't want the whole thing. So, just saying, the reason I say that is because the one time a female orders all her food and she plans to eat it all, maybe not right now, but throughout the day, somebody else has to come and grab it from, like, dude, just order your own food. I mean, and it's a coworker. It's not a sibling. It's not a cousin. It's not a parent. It's a coworker. Like, what? No.
Yeah, you have no obligation to share with them.
No sense of privacy.
I thought at the beginning, I was like, maybe she likes him. Maybe she's coming up to ask. She wants to share lunch.
Nope.
Blah, 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 blah. No, she has a family. She has a spouse.
Yeah.
So.
And it's two females.
Wait, two females?
Oh, it's two females?
It's a 30-year-old female. It says 30F.
Oh, 30F. I was like 30.
Okay.
What?
I didn't hear that at the beginning.
I didn't say 30F because I had no idea what it meant.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
30. So two females.
Yeah, she has no obligation whatsoever to share.
And you're I'm guessing your coworker is close to your age. Like, come on, guys.
She's 29.
Grow up.
I mean, I wouldn't mind, like, it's different with dudes, because I feel like with dudes, you'd be like, the best is gonna do chicken wings?
Yeah.
No?
And
okay.
See, like, you can always ask. It's fine if you ask, but
if
they say no,
that's fine. Now, if
why?
You're like, I just got out of the Sahara Desert. I'm wasting away.
No, yeah.
Rachel.
Again, if it's like supermarket sushi, it's not that bad. But it was $45.
Oh yeah.
Like, no,
45 big watts.
You can't make somebody share.
Yeah.
That
I wouldn't say she's not a jerk for asking, but she's a jerk for being like, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
She's a jerk for calling him a jerk.
Yeah. But
you're
she
a
apologized.
Jerk for being a
she
jerk.
Apologized. So
she did apologize.
That's true.
But did they forgive?
And did they forget?
These are the questions we need answered.
All right.
Let us know in the comment section below.
We will be watching, and somebody else needs to comment besides me and Keegan.
We're always watching. I would comment, except I don't have a YouTube account.
That's actually helpful that I know that you look through the comments, because that makes me realize like people actually look at the comments and they just don't say anything. Like,
bro, I look through so many comments all the time. I would comment, except I don't have a YouTube account, but I'm just like, this is so interesting, bro. The video sucked, but these comments are great.
Yeah,
comments are great.
I only comment on other people's comments when it's funny.
Yeah.
You know, like, I always try to make other people angry because it's just the internet. Of course, that's not a good
the
policy, and I only do it every once in a while. But
Richie becomes
Once
like
a
some
day.
world leader. It's like, I just like to make other countries angry.
it's like Donald Trump starting a nuclear war on Twitter.
That's amazing.
Oh, Donald Trump. I was going through Reddit looking for stuff to read today, mainly on AITA, the subreddit. But I found this, I was looking under trending, and I found this post called Leaflet Dropped on Nagasaki Before the Nuke. And I thought you guys would be interested in this. So it says, part 1, below is a copy of the first leaflet, which was dropped on Japanese cities in conjunction with the atomic bomb.
Oh, I've heard about this.
You've heard about this? All right, I'm going to read a little bit of it. America asks that you take immediate heed of what we say on this leaflet. We are in possession of the most destructive explosive ever devised by man. A single one of our newly developed atomic bombs is actually the equivalent in explosive power to what 2,000 of our giant B-29s can carry on a single mission. This awful fact is one for you to ponder, and we solemnly assure you it is grimly accurate. We have just begun to use this weapon against your homeland. If you still have any doubt, make inquiry as to what happened to Hiroshima when just one atomic bomb fell on the city. Before using this bomb to destroy every resource of the military by which they are prolonging this useless war, we ask that you now petition the Emperor to end the war. Our President has outlined for you the 13 consequences of an honorable surrender. We urge you that you accept these consequences and begin the work of building a new, better, and peaceful, loving Japan. You should take, and then it continues on for a while and lists the 13 reasons why they should stop. But I thought that was really interesting. How they, I mean, that kind of like feeds into how governments use, I'm not saying this is necessarily propaganda, but how governments use propaganda during war times to either influence their own arguments or arguing against the enemy. Essentially, I'm not saying this is propaganda. This is obviously true, and the U.S. was correct to drop bombs on Japan because they would not. They were relentless and they would not give up. And I mean, they killed, I think, 700 people at Pearl Harbor, or was it 1,200?
They killed a buttload of people in Pearl Harbor.
They killed a bunch of people, and we were like, I remember pre-World War I, we were actually, we had some peace treaties with some, and like trading and stuff. And like, nowadays we're best friends with them essentially, which is funny. But I do think it's interesting how the president, I believe this wasn't, I think Roosevelt was dead at this point. Who was after Roosevelt? Taft, right?
I know more about the foreign leaders of World War II than our own.
Well, whoever was president, I thought it was interesting that he thought we should drop these leaflets before we drop a bomb. What do you guys think?
Like, I'm pretty sure we warned them, if what I was told is correct, we warned Japan, like, hey, we're going to do this if y'all don't stop.
Oh yeah, even with Hiroshima, they dropped leaflets. But it wasn't really like, look what happened to Hiroshima, and more like, get out.
Yeah.
Because we're going to destroy the city. But that's why propaganda is so scary. Because, like, nowadays, Russia could send out news reports throughout the entire world that they're going to drop bombs. Could be complete, like, crap and propaganda, essentially.
Well, propaganda isn't always false.
Yeah,
There's some
exactly.
Right.
propaganda that's like, oh, that's true.
It's just, propaganda is media with an agenda, essentially. So you always have to be aware of where the propaganda, the media, is coming from. And that's why nowadays we have no more media. We only have propaganda because everybody has an agenda nowadays. At least
even us.
even us. And our agenda is become famous with this podcast.
Yep.
And we're on our way. We're almost there.
Bro, if I become like a professional soccer player, I'm totally gonna like sponsor this podcast.
That would be amazing.
Thank you for your future
If
Endorsement.
I become a professional soccer player, that would be hard
okay.
to do.
That's too
But
bad.
like, yeah, there was propaganda in World War II was interesting because there's some of it is like that's utter like bull, and then there's others like, oh, they're just literally that's what
Yeah.
they're doing. Like, I would say a lot of the way propaganda is used nowadays, a lot of it is false, and there's some things like, no, that's true. You just have to find it. You have to be careful.
Yeah.
You have to be careful with almost everything.
True.
But it was also a lot harder to believe back then.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, that depends. It's harder to believe now because there's so much information circulating and it's so easy to get a platform now. But back then, you got to think, like, there's never been a bomb like that before.
Yeah.
Now, if Russia's like, we have a new super weapon, we found a new element, I wouldn't even be surprised. But back then,
We've gotten to Mars.
you got to think, like, we've had bombs forever. It took us longer. I don't know. I probably said this on the podcast before. It took us longer to go from bronze weapons to steel weapons than it took us to go from steel weapons to nuclear bombs.
Yeah. It's funny.
So,
Dag 'em.
I mean,
Like,
yeah, it is
it's-
crazy how fast. I mean, we're reading Patriots history in class right now, and it's crazy how fast the United States has grown. Like,
we're really young.
we are 250 years old.
Oh, yeah.
That's so young for a nation, and yet we have
we are number one.
what 350 million people. That's crazy. I mean, like, there are parts of the U.S. that still haven't been mapped because it's still kind of new. Of course, we have satellites and everything, you know, so everything is photographed, but there's certain forests nobody's been at.
Oh yeah.
There's certain locations.
Yeah.
It's weird to think about because we're so young,
Yeah.
and yet we're like peak, like number one in the world.
Which is
We were
But
the
if
first
you
world
think
superpower.
about it,
Yeah.
at one point that was Rome,
yeah.
and then Rome fell. And it depends on like
And
how
Rome.
long it's going to be before Jesus comes back again. But
Yeah.
like America could fall before then. We
Yeah.
could be just like Rome was the height of the ancient world,
Yeah.
and actually Rome was the height of not even the ancient world, but
It was
even
the height
past
of the
that.
world. Yeah.
I mean, like, honestly, there's a lot of things messed up with Rome. I always respected their military. It was like,
Yeah, their military was awesome. I love learning about Roman military.
Roman engineering too was
Yeah.
amazing.
there's
Aqueducts.
also there's aqueducts. You even see that a little bit in the Greeks, not as much though.
Mhm.
You'll hear people say like the Romans were gay. It's like, yeah, but like also that's what you get in the fallen world.
Yeah.
You'll find people like that, but there's a sense like traditional Romans of like the family was the center.
Yeah.
Which like you want God to be the center and then family and stuff like that. But I was like that's they got pretty close to being
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, they were pretty close.
And they were a Christian quote unquote country, and it's actually funny because I was once again doing my Revelations Bible study, whatever you want to call it, devotional, and it said that back in Roman days it was cool to be a Christian when which one Augustine made Christian the official
Yeah.
country, and that was the problem with it is
Yeah,
because
Saint Augustine.
everybody was a Christian quote unquote.
Yeah.
And that made the politicians more powerful, because the Christianity was the state religion.
Yeah.
So the politicians ran the church essentially, and that's how the early church and the Roman Catholic Church got corrupted. Is that you had to now go to a priest or a pope to read the Bible, which is 100% wrong. I don't.
Now if you go
I'm
to
not saying I dislike Roman Catholics, but I'm saying I disagree with them in certain things.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things they get wrong, but there's also like it being Christianity, being in the Bible. There was certain aspects because the Roman Catholic Church was so widespread in Europe and stuff. Though a lot of their like stuff was messed up, like you shouldn't have to pray to
Yeah.
Mary, who's a human,
Yeah.
or pray to angels. The Bible never says anything about that. There's a lot of things that they screwed up, but there's also like a few there's basic morals they had, which as a whole, really made there was a sense of right and wrong, which I think nowadays, though there was the Reformation and we got away from the Roman Catholics, which was good, we also I feel got too uninvolved, which isn't a effect of the Reformation. It was just something that later on happened because you don't have someone like the Roman Catholic Church that's involved in everything. You just have there's a point where you want to be separate, but there's also a point where you want to get involved and do stuff. And I think a lot of people are really focusing on kind of we'll let them do their thing, or we won't poke back until they poke us,
Yeah, and I was actually thinking about this morning. We're running short in time, so maybe we can do a podcast on this next time or whenever you come back on the podcast. But government cannot be neutral. There's no neutral government. Government legislates, and a government that legislates has to legislate a morality, a belief, a theology. Without that, it's not legislating anything. You can make laws about traffic systems and building codes and stuff, but then you start to begin to go into does the government have the right to tell people how they can build their houses? Does the government have the right to take somebody's property in the name of building a highway through it? Does the government have the right to do that? And you're going into that theological debate. What is government? What right do they have? So by existing, government makes a theological statement. All right, I think we can end on that.
Yeah, I definitely got lost there.
Where did we start? I don't even remember.
Started with Hiroshima, the bomb.
Oh yes, the
Pearl
bomb.
Harbor, all that. And then we moved to the U.S. being a
Propaganda
civilization that could fall. Then we moved to Rome, and that's how they military. And then we moved to theology, Roman Catholicism, blah blah blah, to building highways across it.
That's great.
I think I summed it up pretty good. And you saying government is theology.
Well, thanks for listening and watching.
Please like and subscribe.
And leave a comment. I'm not talking to you, Richie.
Leave a comment so that we know you're actually watching.
Please leave a comment so I can read it. Thank you.
He's not gonna watch the video. He's just gonna read it. Oh.
No, dude, I